Welcome back, everyone. For today's video, we are back with the Global Chess League Season number 3. Now, last year in London in the United Kingdom, I played in the second edition of this tournament, representing the American Gambiteers, and I faced some really illustrious competition, including the 5-time world champion, Magnus Carlsen, Alireza Firouzja, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, Vishy Anand, and one or two other players that for some reason are eluding my memory at the moment. So we're back with the third season. Unlike last year, this season is being held in Mumbai, India. In the first round, as fitting as it would be, I'm playing against the current world champion, Gukesh from India. Now, in this event, it is a team composition of 6 players representing each team. It's a 6-game match. So even though my game has some importance, every game could play a huge role in the outcome. So I have the white pieces, and let's jump right into the action. So I play this move pawn to e4. Gukesh plays the Sicilian. I was somewhat expecting this. I'm not going to lie. I expected Gukesh to be aggressive, playing in front of the home crowd, and we get the Sicilian defense. So I play knight f3. We get e6, and now I play this move g3. Now, in many recent games, including my road to the candidates, I was playing this move c3, transposing into an Alapin. I also played the Alapin Sicilian against Arjun Erigaisi in Norway chess. I played it more recently against Fabiano Caruana in clutch chess, but today I decided let's play g3 and go for the classic fianchetto variation by putting the bishop on g2. So Gukesh plays d5. I trade the pawns, I play bishop g2, and now we get the move knight to c6. Here I castle, Gukesh plays knight f6, and now I play the move d4. Now this position probably looks very pleasant for white to the naked eye. When you look at this position, you'll notice that I've got this great diagonal for this bishop on the light square diagonal is great, and black has not finished the development. Unfortunately, due to modern theory and the strength of computers as we know, this position is not really all that special. Now, one of the reasons I chose to play this variation is that in a team event where every game matters, you don't want to be the one who makes a huge mistake that can cost your team, so I try to keep it on the safer side. So we get bishop e7. After the move bishop to e7, I play the move pawn takes pawn, Gukesh takes, and now I play the move knight c3. Gukesh castles, and now I play the move bishop g5. Now in this position, Gukesh plays this move d4. I will point out that all the way back in the great year of 2012, or 2011, I should say, in the London Chess Classic, I actually had this position with the colors reversed against a strong British Grandmaster, Luke McShane. In that game with the black pieces, I played the move bishop to e6, and then the game continued with the move rook to b1. But we're here in 2025, 14 years later. Gukesh, of course, plays the better move according to the computer, which is d4, and now I play the move knight to e4. Now, already at this point in the game, I had some decisions to make, whether I want to play knight to e4 or whether I want to play bishop takes f6. As I mentioned at the start of this video, this is a team event, so I was already eyeing the other games that were going on at the moment of my teammates to see if we had any big advantages on any of the boards. So I ultimately play knight e4. Now, probably if I wanted to be safe here, I would have traded first and then played knight to e4. And after queen to e7, I can simply play this move knight takes bishop, queen takes, and something like knight to e1. And then after the move bishop to f5, knight to d3, for example, black can play queen b6. And after queen d2, maybe white has a very tiny advantage with this open diagonal, but objectively, it is nothing to write home about. So I decided instead to play knight e4, bishop e7, I trade, and now I go for the move knight to e1, trying to reroute my knight to this d3 square while I have these knights in the center with some blockading possibilities. We get the move bishop e7. I go knight d3, Gukesh plays bishop f5, and now I play the move rook e1. Here we get the move queen to b6, and now at this moment, I play this move queen to f3, we get g6, and here I play the move a3. Now, as you'll notice, computer actually gives white a very tiny advantage in this position. I must admit that at this point in the game, I already actually did not like my position, just because black has these two bishops here, and the rooks are coming to the center very, very quickly. So I wasn't actually feeling great about it, but as you can tell from the evaluation bar, white is actually better. So Gukesh plays a5, and now in this position I play this move queen to f4, and this is really the start of going in the wrong direction. Now keep in mind, this game is a rapid game. We're playing with 20 minutes from the start, so you don't want to get too low on time early, but this would have been a very good moment to take stock of the position and use some time, because the best move here would have been this move g4, which I did consider, but I actually thought that after bishop takes e4, rook takes e4, and something like bishop to d6, that black actually might be better here with this idea of f5 incoming, rook e8 as well. computer just says you can play a move like h4, and I guess after f5 here, there's rook to e6, and white's apparently winning, but without it being a concrete variation where I was sure what was going to happen, I didn't want to be super aggressive. Keep in mind that I also only arrived in India early this morning, less than 24 hours before this first game, so I wanted to try and keep things a bit calmer due to the situation. But I go queen to f4 instead, and this move is simply a bad move here, because now Gukesh plays rook c8, I go rook to e2, and here he plays this excellent move, knight to d8. Now, the reason this move is so strong is that by going knight to d8, black opens up the c file for the rook, while the queen puts pressure on this pawn, so these knights don't really have great squares. Say black were to play a move like queen to d8, white could play something like knight to c5, and suddenly you start to see the potential power of the knights and the bishop. But after knight to d8, I play rook e1, knight e6, queen d2, and now we get the move rook c7. As you can tell, the evaluation is starting to shift a little bit because black has the very obvious idea of doing the double stack and pressuring this pawn. The queen still spies this pawn on b2 here, even though I can't draw arrows. And already here, I was feeling very uncomfortable with what was going on. So I played this move h3 here. Probably I should have played knight to f4. Ultimately, I rejected this move because I thought that after takes, and rook to d7, I still have this weakness on b2 that's going to be extremely hard to defend. So that's why I played the move h3 instead. Gukesh plays rook c8, and now I go queen to d1, trying to stop black from taking the pawn on c2. We get h5, and here I play the move rook d2, and now Gukesh plays this move h4. Now, this move is still a good move for black according to the engine, but from a practical standpoint, I would say that I consider this move to be a huge mistake due to the time control of this game. Now, the reason that I say this is because when you take stock of this position, I have 6.5 minutes, Gukesh has 12 minutes, he has 5.5 more minutes, there is no increment, at least at this point in the game, so you really want to try to put the onus on the player with the white pieces to have to make tough decisions. Whereas in a game, when Gukesh plays this move h4, all of my moves become very easy where the time situation is not going to potentially play a role in the outcome of the game. So if I were playing here, probably I would have considered king g7, for example, or a move like a4, but Gukesh plays h4, forcing me to play the move g4. He has to take the knight. If you don't take the pony, you're going to lose this bishop. I take back, and now we get the move bishop g5. Here I go rook to e2, knight to f4, I trade, and after this move queen to d3, as you can tell, the evaluation has completely shifted to where if anybody is better, it's going to be white. Now, what I think is that when Gukesh calculated the h4 move, he didn't see this queen d3 move, probably thought that I have to play something like b3, and after a move like rook c3, it's amazing the computer actually thinks white is better here. I didn't even consider this because I thought this rook would be very strong, but even this would have been very good for me. But I saw queen d3, and when I go queen d3 here, my hope is that Gukesh is going to take the pawn on b2, because now I can sack the bishop with bishop takes pawn on g6, and after I play this move bishop takes g6 here, if black were to play the move pawn takes bishop in this position, now I can simply go queen takes pawn, checking the king, black blocks, and now I have rook to e8, checking the king, we get takes, and this would lead to a forced checkmate. The king cannot escape to either of these squares. So the king gets stuck and is checkmate, and the game is over. Now, as I mentioned, computer actually thought that after b3, white is apparently better. But when I went queen d3 here, in my mind, because we had already won on one of the other boards, I'm trying to keep it safe, solid, and secure where I take any risk out of position. So here Gukesh plays king to g7, logical move guarding this pawn so that now he could take on b2. And here I play the move bishop to d5. Now Gukesh goes queen to f6. Perhaps queen takes b2 is possible, but after rook to e7 here, this is a very, very scary position. The pawn on f7 is loose here. Let's say black were to play a move like bishop d6, which looks very logical. I can sack the rook with bishop takes pawn, and after rook takes rook, queen takes pawn, checking the king. If you go this way, it's checkmate. And if you go this way, it's also checkmate as well. So understandably, Gukesh doesn't go for this. I think the way the computer defends this is after rook to e7, there's a move like queen c3 here. And in this position, after takes, for example, bishop takes pawn, king to f6, takes, and then a move like bishop to e8. Probably the game should end in a draw here because I'm going to be able to lock everything up on the light squares. Say you get like rook c5, a4, for example. I plant the bishop on b5, and there's just not a whole lot left to play for either side. So Gukesh goes queen to f6, and now I play rook to d1, we get bishop to e5, and here I play the move queen to e4, pressuring the bishop on e5. Now, what you'll notice here is that I'm still down on time, but the problem is that what's happening after rook to e7 and queen to f3 is that trades must occur. If black were to play a move like queen d6, for example, here I can play rook to e1, pinning the bishop and pressuring both of these pawns at the same time. If black plays a move like b6, I can always just trade the queens, and I'm fine as well. So after queen to f3, Gukesh plays the move rook c to c7, laterally guarding this pawn with the two rooks while keeping an eye on the pawn on c2. Now here I play the move queen takes f6, and at first, if anybody's watching the game live, whether in the audience or online, you might have noticed some confusion about what was going on. There's a little bit of confusion because when I played queen takes f6, I offered Gukesh a draw here. And at first, he wasn't aware of the rules, whether draw offers were permitted or not. So we had to call over an arbiter to make sure that I actually was correct in what I had been told, which was that you cannot offer a draw before white's 31st move. As you can probably notice, this is move number 34. So it was ruled legal to offer a draw, and Gukesh took the draw here because after a move like bishop takes f6, for example, I can simply trade the rooks on e7, play something like bishop c4, let's say b6 and bishop d3 here. And with the opposite color bishops, neither side has great chances to win. So I make a very, very solid draw. I was perhaps a little bit worse for one or two moves in this game, but overall, pretty solid start for me. Now, in the other matches, or the other games, I should say, of this match, we had an early victory on one of the female boards. We had Theodora, I believe is her name, winning against Hadem, which gave us an early advantage in the match. Every other game would end in a draw, including Richard Rapport against Lenier Dominguez, Vladislav Artemiev against Arjun Erigaisi, amongst others. So with 5 draws and 1 victory, we do win our first match in this event. So the American Gambiteers are off to a very, very good start. So we get a win, but this is only one game for the match. And as there are so many strong players playing this event, I do have another game that I want to cover. So the next game we're going to be taking a look at is another game from this event, the Global Chess League, and this match features a matchup between the Treveni Continental Kings and the Alpine SG Pipers. Now, the team names probably mean nothing to you, but for posterity, I should explain. Now, as you can tell, the two players in this matchup are two players who everyone is familiar with. They are, of course, Alireza Firouzja, the wonderkin from Iran, now representing France, and of course, Fabiano Caruana, the current world number 3 and 4-time defending U.S. chess champion. So Alireza is the white piece against Fabiano, and the game starts out with this move e4. Now, after we get this move e4 in this position, Fabi plays c5, we get knight f3, and now we get the move g6. Here we get d4, takes, and the move bishop g7. Now, what's pretty funny about this opening is that many of you guys who've watched my recent events probably have noticed that this is the system that I have been playing. And no less, I in fact played this hyper-accelerated dragon system against none other than Fabiano Caruana in the recently concluded Clutch Chess Tournament in St. Louis. So here, Alireza plays knight c3. He does not play this move c4. This would have been the Maroczy bind setup where white tries to bring these pawns out very, very early. So we get knight c3. Fabi plays knight c6. We get bishop e3, knight f6, and now we get the move bishop c4. Fabiano castles, and here we get the move bishop b3, and now we get the move d6. Now, after this move f3, we have now transposed into a Yugoslav dragon from a slightly different move order. Usually the way you would get this is after d6, d4, takes, knight f6, knight c3. Black would play g6, and after bishop to e3, bishop g7, f3, knight c6, go bishop c4, castles, and bishop to b3. So via transposition here, we've reached the Sicilian dragon. You're probably wondering why not play the main order. The reason usually you don't get this is specifically what I mentioned before, which is that in this position after bishop g7, white has this option of c4 to stop any true dragons. At any rate, high-level explanations aside, we have transposed back into the Yugoslav variation of the Sicilian dragon. This is considered to be one of the big testing grounds of this whole setup. So we get bishop d7 from Fabi, Alireza plays queen d3, we get knight e5, queen d2, and now we get the move rook c8. Alireza plays h4, Fabi plays h5, and now we get the move kingside castling. Here we get knight c4, white trades, and now we get the move king to b1. Now, you probably have noticed computer actually gives black a tiny advantage already, and the big reason for that is that white's attack on the king side is very slow. Usually, if you could get it, let me just play some random moves like knight c6. If white can get this position with g4 takes, h5 takes, and something like knight to f5 with the bishop, the rook, and all this pressure towards the king side, black is already in a world of hurt. But when we look at this position after king to b1, you've got this knight, this bishop covering the g4 square. Black also has ideas to set up a legendary triple stack on the c file. So at this point, the attack doesn't look like it's going anywhere for Alireza. So we got the move queen c7. Alireza plays knight to e2 here, trying to guard the knight on c3. And now Fabi plays the move b5. Alireza plays knight to f4, and here we get the move bishop to c6, and now the move g4 is on the board. Now at this point, white has to go for desperation, because as you can tell, there's a ton of pressure on the queen side here. b4, rook c8, all this pressure massing towards these pawns in front of the white king. It's very, very dire. If white doesn't try to do something desperately on the king side, white is going to get cooked very hard. So we get g4. Now here Fabiano plays the move rook to c8, and this is simply a very, very big mistake. Now Fabiano, as you can tell, used nearly 4 minutes to play this move, but this move is in effect a serious error after which there's almost no chance of surviving. What Fabiano should have played was one of a couple thematic ideas. One of the most thematic being to sack the rook, with rook takes knight on c3. After queen takes c3 and h takes g4, you have all kinds of fossils of this queen on the diagonal. If white goes h5, you can play knight takes h5. Maybe even knight takes e4 is possible. Maybe it's not good, but a lot of ideas. This would have been one option. Another option is to simply play the move pawn to b4 here, attacking the pony. And after knight d5, knight takes d5. Let's say white were to take, you get takes. And after e d5, you can now play the move rook to c8. You've officially gotten Aliekin's gun here on the c file. And after rook c1 and a move like queen d7, black is supposed to be fine. But I was about to say Alireza. Fabiano instead plays the move, which is rook to c8, which looks very logical with the triple stack. But when Fabiano plays this move, he misses a sacrifice, which Alireza will not miss. We get pawn takes pawn. Fabi plays b4. Now, after b4, what Fabiano is expecting is white to move a knight to e2, for example. But after knight e2, black can sack a pony, and after takes, bishop takes e4. Black is simply crushing white on these diagonals here. You have the triple stack, you have the two bishops, and the white king is done for. Let's say white were to play with like knight g3, rook takes c2. Just look at the pressure of the rook hitting the queen and these bishops, and it's just all but over. Now, it's a little bit surprising, perhaps, to me that Fabiano didn't smell the rat here, because after b4, it looks like white loses if you move the knight no matter what, so white can't really move the knight. Unfortunately, due to that circumstance, Alireza realizes that, and he simply sacks the pony by taking this pawn on g6. Now, what those of you guys watching this video at home can tell from the valuation bar is that Fabiano has, in fact, simply made a clean blunder, and even though he's going to be ahead by a pony, he's actually going to get checkmated on the king side, as we're about to see. So we got the move pawn takes knight. Alireza takes on f7, we get king takes, and now we get the move queen to g2. Now, the reason that this is so bad for Fabiano here is there's queen g6, there's rook g1, there's knight e6 looming as well. This black king is super, super weak, and there's just no way to defend. To make matters worse, with this pawn on b2, even if you were able to get queen b7 and b3 here, there is no way to checkmate this white king with these three pawns in front of the king. This king is never getting checkmated here, so with the king never getting mated, white has the free hand to attack on the king side. So after queen g2, Fabi plays the move e5, we get the move rook hg1, and now we get the move pawn takes knight. Now e5 makes a lot of sense, because if white were to check here after king g8 and knight e6, you can at least temporarily try to hang on with queen to f7 here, offering the trade of the queens while attacking the knight at the same time. But Alireza plays rook g1, we get pawn takes knight. If you go rook g8, for example, here, now after queen g6 and king to e7, white has a brilliant sacrifice. Queen takes bishop, and after takes, you hit the king and the queen at the same time. Black goes back, and after knight to e6 check, hitting the king and the queen again. You move, I take, and now after a move like b3, white is simply up a rook here on c7. With the extra rook and the pawn hanging, this king is getting mated. It is GG, why not? So that is why after rook g1, Fabi takes knight, we get queen takes bishop, king to e6, and here Alireza plays this move queen g6. Now you're probably thinking, what is going on here? Alireza has now hung a bishop. He's going to be down 2 pieces. But at the end of the day, even though white can potentially be down 2 pieces, white is actually crushing here because both of these rooks and the queen are super, super active here, and black's king will not be able to survive the onslaught with only the pony to guard the king. So we get pawn takes. We get queen to f5, king f7, and now Alireza plays the move rook g6, hitting the knight on f6 with both the queen and the rook. Fabi decides to play queen e7, and now we get the move rook d to g1. And as we take stock of this position, black has an extra bishop and a knight here, but the problem is this king is simply getting smoked by the double stack on the file. The rook is hanging, the knight is weak, everything is collapsing here in this position. So Fabi plays the move bishop takes e4. This is an attempt to try to survive. Doesn't really do a whole lot. I think computer says the best move is this very weird idea of bishop d5. And after takes, I guess rook to f8. This at least fends off an immediate checkmate, but even this position after knight d7 and rook g7 is completely winning for white. So Fabi goes bishop takes e4, Alireza plays rook g7, and now we get the move king to e8. If Fabi were to play the move king f8, there's rook g8 check. You can't take the rook due to the pin. That would put your king in check, so you can't take. And if you go back, there's rook 1 to g7, checkmating this king. King has no escape square, and the game ends immediately. So Fabi goes king to e8. Alireza takes the queen, we get king takes rook, and now we get this move rook to g7, checking the king. Fabi plays king e8, and after queen to e6 here, Fabiano Caruana resigns this game because no matter where he goes with his king, if he goes to f8, it's mate in 1. If you go to d8, also mate in 1. With mate in 1 on the board coming, Fabiano decides to throw in the towel. Now, this is an extremely brilliant attacking game from Alireza. You can make the argument some of the moves are very easy, so it maybe doesn't stand up relative to some of the all-time classics, but Alireza shows how much beauty there is in making sacrifices and attacking in this game. Sacrifices two pieces along the way, a sound sacrifice, I might add. It was completely correct, and he gets a beautiful, beautiful win, and he helps his team, the Triveni Continental Kings, to a victory in the first round. Really, really beautiful game. Really, really good matches so far on the first day. And with that, I'm going to call it right now. We're going to wrap up our recap from day number 1 of the third season of the Global Chess League, which is being held here in Mumbai, India. Before I do end this video, I want to give a big shout out to all the fans who have shown up in person at the venue, as well as watching these games and commenting on social media. For all the Indian fans, it's great to see the enthusiasm that they have for chess, and hopefully it will continue through the conclusion of this exciting event. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed this recap from day number 1 of the Global Chess League here in Mumbai, India. If you are not already subscribed to the channel, make sure that you smash that subscribe button below. And hopefully, I'll be back tomorrow with another recap after day number 2, when my team, the American Gambits, faces off against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. And I actually forgot the team name, so I'm just going to say I'll be facing off against Maxime, and I'm looking forward to the game. Hope you guys enjoyed this recap. See you very soon, and have a great rest of your day. See you guys. Bye.